for them. Okay. Next slide, please. Okay. A lot of times, things become clearer. Subjects that are not so clear can become clearer if you give them a definition of some of the basic aspects of the subject. And that's what we're going to start with, because there is a difference between sexuality and sensuality. They are related. They're not the same. We're going to talk about the importance to people in general and to people affected by scleroderma in particular of sexuality and sensuality. We're going to discuss facts about sex and scleroderma that you all have to deal with in terms of your physical issues, in terms of emotional issues that come along with that. I understand from Kelly that there might be some people here who would like to learn about pregnancy and the possibility of having a kid, which is very nice. When you want a baby, that's a wonderful time. And Kelly also told me that there are people who are the support groups or the support people for the person who wants a baby. So if those of you that are in that role want to stay afterwards, we will talk about pregnancy because I think it's a smaller group. And if you want to stay, that's fine, but I'm going to be particularly talking to the people who want to get pregnant. And I've got my slides all going somewhere here. Okay. And then we're going to talk about a lot of practical stuff in terms of appliances that you can use, not the refrigerator, not the dishwasher, but some appliances that you may not have used before or maybe have used before. We're going to talk about other ways to cope. And then I'm going to give you a list of resources that I used, that I've come across. There are a lot, and I didn't put all of them, but gave you some beginnings of looking up stuff. I think the internet is probably one of the most wonderful things in the world, because you can really find anything as long as you think critically and are sure about where your facts are coming from. So I've vetted those and curated them for you. So you'll have a list. If anybody would like to use these slides in support groups or whatever, one, you're going to have a video that Kelly is making, and two, you can have these slides as long as you give, as long as you reference me and the Scleroderma Foundation down here. So that's what we're going to do today. Now, let's go to the definitions. So when we talk about sexuality, I had to go to the dictionary. And I went to the dictionary, and this is what they wrote. So you have all parts of your psychological person, what you live in, and your spiritual aspects that are going to affect how you develop as a human being and what's going to happen with your interpersonal relationships. It also includes physical intimacy, such as intercourse, as well as self-image, self-esteem, body image, and your own concept of closeness, love, and sex. Next. Okay. So there's another definition. I'm not going to get into other gender types, other kinds of loving, but there is a whole bunch of stuff coming up, as long as you're not in a place that bans books. And if you can find it, if you have people that need to have some information about that, especially young ones, there are books out now. 25, 30 years ago, there were not. There was nothing for the gay man, the gay woman. So that's an improvement. A composite, the sexuality is a composite term that also includes physical, self-image, self-esteem, and so forth. It's woven into everything we are, everything we do, most of what we say. So the next slide. So sensuality is different. It's relating to the body and the senses, as distinguished from the intellect or the spirit or the body, the actions that we take. It denotes bodily or sensory pleasure, not necessarily sexual. So, next slide. If you want to think about sensuality, you could look at it this way. These are all sensual experiences. And maybe you have experienced those. They have been studied in terms of what they do to the body. And they've discovered that doing this on a regular basis, anything that gives you mental pleasure is also working on your hormones. And we have brain hormones, as you know, the L-dopa and the dopamine and the other one, the serotonin, et cetera, and they go up when you and whoever you care about is having a special dinner in a special place, or sitting down and looking at pictures from past travels. That's something else that people really care about. Listening to favorite music, live or not, especially Baroque music, which has a specific beat. They've discovered that brain waves change. So it's very interesting to see how the brain and the body and the emotions connect. So here's a whole bunch of lovely things. You've seen some of those little books that you rip out a coupon and hand it to somebody and say, let's go to the movies. It says on there, or you write out what it is you would like to do with them. That's based on some of this kind of information. The 1970s were big for this. We did studies on hugging. So, next. In general, this is well known. In general, if you are having pleasurable experiences, on a regular basis, your quality of life increases. And you don't have to stop being depressed to do this. If you have enough energy to go and sit and watch a sunset, it probably will make you feel better. And sexual experiences, if they're pleasurable and if they're with someone who you care about and who you know cares about you, it adds a quality of life. It adds self-esteem. You have a feeling of well-being, a decrease in reported pain, which is really important, increase in optimism, and an increase in satisfaction with relationships. I think this study is on your resource list. So, next slide. I always find it so interesting that the mind and the body are working together, and many times we don't know it. We don't tuned into that part. Okay. I think I did that already. So here's what good sex does for us. Sex by itself, just to say we had sex, doesn't mean you've talked about the quality of that sex. And there is some sex that is really horrible. And that comes hopefully never for any of us. It comes with bad people. It comes with people doing things that we don't want them to do. So I'm talking about good sex. It helps the immune system ward off germs. Who knew? Viruses, other intruders from outside the body. Boosts your libido. That's the urge to have sex. Who says libido anymore? That's a Freudian term from the 30s. And they found, Masters and Johnson found that sex is stronger in a man than in a woman, but that's not always true. Women can have very strong urges as well. If you have more sex, you want more sex. That's a little sentence that you might want to remember. If you're having good sex, make a plan for the next one. It can improve women's bladder control. That means you have to watch that, because if it's very strong, very hard, and you're being penetrated and it is uncomfortable, then you can have a very good chance of having a bladder infection. So we are advised to get up out of bed and go to the bathroom right away, because that will wipe out a lot of it will help with the inflammation if you have any, and it will help take out any germs that are going to be difficult. It helps to lower blood pressure. It counts as exercise. So tell that to your watch. You know, my watch is always nagging me. You have to stand up, you have to move, you have to walk, do a little exercise. Well, it counts as exercise at 5 calories a minute. And like going to the gym regularly, consistency maximizes the benefits. So if you do 5 calories a minute, you're going to lose 60 calories, or you're going to use 60 calories. I bet you nobody in your circle knows that. It's a little known fact. Next. It lowers the heart attack risk. It helps keep estrogen and testosterone in balance, and these help the heart stay healthy. As we get older, and we women get older, we lose estrogen, right? We don't lose it like this. It's not smooth. It's up and down, and then a little bit, and then up and down. And the down part is when you get your hot flashes. And the up is sometimes painful or upsetting also. And you get sometimes it's irritable. to you. And so, but generally, we lose our estrogen, and the testosterone doesn't increase, but it stays the same. But as your estrogen is going down, and you feel a little bit more testosterone going through. And I think that's probably what makes some of us older women get a lot more feisty. So that's not bad. It lessens pain. Hormones get added when you have orgasms and self-stimulation, and that might raise your pain threshold. It may make prostate cancer less likely, although the study is not completely conclusive. It improves sleep. There is a hormone that they've discovered that men have an increase of after sex, and that's something that puts them right to sleep. And it can ease stress. Now that's good. That's good sex. That's sex where both of you are comfortable, both of you are pleased, both of you feel comfortable together, and you want more. Okay, next. So we covered the first part. Let's have the next slide. Okay. This is a list of the things that you guys are well aware of and have to deal with. These things are not conducive to body comfort, are they? They also are concerned with premenopausal and menopausal symptoms as you get older. And statistically, the most number of the age group that scleroderma tends to occur in is the 40s to the 60s. And so we're getting older, and you've got this to deal with as well as whatever else is happening as you age, because everybody is different. I think that having to deal with and adapt to all the stuff that you are dealing with is an exercise. It's big exercise. You have to pull in all of your support systems. You have to rely on the people who have the medical knowledge, the pharmacological knowledge, the rheumatology knowledge, all that stuff. You pull in your resources, you read books, you talk to your people in your support groups, and you find all the little and not so little things that they do to help their skin ulcers and their dry mouth and their small mouth opening and the joint pain and etc. and all the pain that you all have to deal with. I think that when you all talk to each other about being a scleroderma warrior, I think this is the aspect that you all need to be dealing with and are dealing with. And I salute you. Growing older is not a picnic. Betty Davis says it's not for the weak of heart. And to add all the rest of this to it just is annoying, is painful, is depressing, and is anger provoking. So I salute you guys. Very seldom are there men in these studies. But there is a problem sometimes with people, men with scleroderma, and they have problems getting and maintaining an erection, and that also has to do with age. So that's another problem that they have because, scleroderma is a basic vascular disease. And the erections that men do get are based on their vascular ability. So if they have, like in your fingertips, and your capillaries are clamping down, you have the same kind of problem in their penis, then they're going to be having erectile problems. Some people are doing some studies on that, I believe. We'll have to look them up. Next. Well, no surprise. Physical problems, especially pain, reduce sexual desire. Since the average age of women with scleroderma is within menopause, we talked about that. Some of the symptoms are the same. Let's look at the next slide where we compare what's happening in menopause and what's happening in scleroderma. There is a lot of similarity. Does anybody want to add anything to these lists that I haven't written down? Okay, if you think of anything, let me know, really, because I get a lot of good information from the people that come to this lecture. And as I say, there's not that much data. There's thoughts and ideas, and people have written things, but it's not a lot of hard data and study. Next slide, please. No. Now, I'm not going to go through all of this, but you can have these slides. You can watch this video again. Many of you are on these pills, and you have to deal with the side effects, but you also are looking at some things that didn't happen. They were not even a twinkle in anybody's eyes 40 years ago. And so you guys are having the benefit of a lot of years of clinical research. Every year that we go to conferences, there's new stuff, and it's really lovely to see. But you guys are probably very aware of the medications like steroids and narcotics and beta blockers and antidepressants of all kinds. Look especially at the part of the slide that shows you what the side effects are that are going to affect your, I won't say it too loud, performance. That's an unfortunate word because you're really not performing, but it affects how you have sex and what happens to you during. And we're going to talk about some of the ways to deal with all of that. Okay. So there are some things you can do about this. Dan Furst always says there's always something you can do about something. Yay! That's him down there screaming. Okay, that's the last one, right? So anyhow, there may be substitute medications that don't give you those side effects that make it difficult. And here's a little model that if you have depression from scleroderma, fatigue, pain, and you're aging, that can lead to decreased libido. And then there are sexual adjustment problems. So you want to start down here dealing with the stuff you can deal with. There are medications for depression. There are people to talk to about depression. You have every reason to be depressed, especially at the beginning. There will be depression all along your life cycle because scleroderma, unfortunately, only goes into some remission sometimes, and then you get flares. So you've got the fatigue and the pain and the age going. So everyone who has those things will be experiencing a certain amount of decreased libido. And this is where your partners come in. Actually, your partner can help you throughout all of this if he or she is the right partner. So you might have decreased libido more often than you'd like. And you might have sexual adjustment problems, but if you start working on this level can be handled, and this level will be less. That has been shown. So you want to look at the state of your relationship and how the two of you get along together. Next slide. These are, okay, we're going to do pregnancy afterwards. So let's zip to the next slide. Okay. Let's see. So we're going to have some ways to cope here, and we're going to get specific. Here we go with some more definitions. If you don't know what sexual success means, if you haven't been able to define it, if you and your partner haven't been able to define it together, how do you know when you're going to reach it? And how do you know how to reach it? So what is your definition of sexual fulfillment? Does it require that each of you reaches orgasm at the same time, every time? Well, that's not necessarily going to happen. So that may not be what you want to go for. Does your partner talk to you about this as well? What does he or she feel is sexual fulfillment for them? So it's very important to have good communications for these definitions. How was your sexual satisfaction pre-scleroderma? Were you guys just blissfully having sex as often as you want? And was it wonderful every time? Was it awful? Was it spotty? Was it filled with unmet objectives? Could it have been better? You both know when something is off, and it's something to talk about. Otherwise, the two of you are not going to have a mutually beneficial time with sexuality. Let me, okay. Some part of this slide is covered by people, which is fine, but I just have to look at my other slides over here. How well have you accommodated to your disease? If you have Raynaud's really badly and you constantly have infections in your fingers at the nail bed and it doesn't ever seem to get better, and this is the thing that's putting an obstacle, because you need your fingers during sex. So is this the obstacle that you have to overcome? Where is the obstacle? Is it with the fingers? Is it with pain? Is it with not being able to talk to each other? Is it with urinary tract infections all the time? If you guys can pinpoint what's getting in the way, that's a really important thing to talk about, because if that's the obstacle, then there are ways of overcoming that, and you can find them. And if you've accommodated to your disease, the same skills that you use, which is being assertive, having a doctor that listens to you and that you trust, having your team organized, you have all of your doctors, you have a comfortable place to live, you have enough money to live with, your social life is good and comfortable, and you created all that because you went out to find friends, you joined groups, you made sure your doctor was listening to you. And those kinds of skills are the same skills that you can use to improve your sexual health. Same stuff. It's assertion, it's being smart, it's knowing who your resources are and what your resources are. It's just about sex. It's not about your physical necessarily. It's about your sexual health. What is the state of your communication with your partner? Is it good? Could it be better? Does he or she know what's pleasing you, what isn't pleasing you? So that's another set, excuse me, of definitions. Next slide, please. So what's the sexiest part of the human body? It's the mind. The example that I give is an experience that I had when I was working in a rehab hospital for physical rehab. So we had kids in there who were burned, age 6, all the way up to a 94-year-old gentleman who wanted to do his exercises because he wanted to go home to his wife, that he had had a heart attack. So we had a gamut. And one of the things we had, since it was Northern California, is we had a bunch of guys that were in motorcycle accidents. And they came in on regularly these people would get into accidents, not the same ones, but they were there a lot. And the nurses taught them how to have sex because they were like, they weren't even 40. And they had girlfriends dressed in leathers, and they had wives. And so they taught them how to have sex using their mind and recognizing that there were symptoms that they could recognize, and using appliances and pillows in the proper places for their partner, et cetera, et cetera. They were much happier when they left because they were really worried about that. So the mind is very important. Those of you that do meditation and prayer probably know that already. Next. Okay, so attitude counts. And because you're dealing with all those physical things, when you prepare yourself for sex, and I know that doesn't sound very sexy to plan and do all of these things, but it could be part of the preamble. It could be part of the foreplay. So you can start the day before. Start with thoughts, pictures, ideas, what happened the last time. Give him a pinch on his tush. Let him know that you have an interest. Also, you could do a few little intimacy for intimacy's sake things, like sitting and watching the sunset, or sitting inside when it snows. I miss the snow down here in LA. Watching the snow from inside with your fireplace and all that. And just sitting there, watching a good movie or not. Use helpful devices for sex, just as you use devices to help you in the kitchen or at work. There are shops, and nobody cares. Especially you guys are much more rational about this. But you can go into love shops. We have a large gay population down here in West Hollywood, and we have 2 of them here. And they don't care who you are. They'll take your money just like anybody's. I felt unusually shy about the first time I went, but there were some really good things in there, and there were toys. Something to change it up a little. So those devices could be just as fun as without them, and they might add to the fun. Remember to take your pain pills, your GERD pills, your anti-inflammatories before you go to sleep, before you go to bed, before you're going to have sex. Make sure that you have those things on board. And then there's all of these moisturizers and lubricants and things like that. I have used several of them as I've gotten older, and I don't work for them, but YES is the best. It's organic. And you can buy it over the internet. They started in Ireland, so their lab was in Ireland, and they concocted these wonderful potions. They have no perfume, and they don't give you an infection or any kind of mold or fungus or anything. A lot of these are, the rest of them have things in them that are oil. And they, Yes has one lubricant that is water soluble, but they also have another lubricant for the male that is oil, but it also is water soluble. Don't ask me how they do this, but it's wonderful, and it doesn't give you any problem at the end. It kind of adds. So check them out. They also have little vials that you can take on vacation with you, and it's quite good, and it's not terribly expensive. So don't tell anybody that I gave you a commercial about this, but they are good. The other thing you can do is to take a warm bath together, not together. Get a massage from each other, maybe. Light candles, make up the bed with clean sheets together, pick out the music. You got great playlists on Spotify, and Alexa will do that for you. You've got all these interesting gadgets. Now, you can also, if you have vaginal dryness, that's one aspect. But if you also have a vaginal opening that is shrinking, that is tight, that will be hurting you and hurting him or her. So you want to talk to your physician about stretching that. And people have been stretching that area with a lot of lubricant, with larger and larger dildos, and lots of moisturizer. It's the same principle as stretching anything in your body. You want to do it gently and over time. You have any questions about this? Because we're going to go into positions now. No questions at all? Okay. This comes from Rancho Los Amigos Medical Center, which was a rehab hospital, and it still does that. Physical rehab. And it's famous, actually. And when we lived here in the 70s, it was going great guns. So you can see these positions. Some of them, if you have bad knees, the woman on top position is not going to be good for you. So you have to look at these with yourselves in mind and see which you can manage. Side by side, is sometimes very helpful and comfortable. These are only suggestions, and look and see where the pillows are too. So you need to pay attention to your joints and how they're doing that day. And maybe your pre-medication will be helpful. It's all up to you and your individual issues. So some of these are impossible for people with arthritis or whatever. I think they would be very hard to do. Okay, but there's the next slide. There are other ways. Now, if sexual satisfaction means that there has to be penetration, and the penetration has to be long and keeps going until an explosive orgasm on the part of both of you, then I think some people will be disappointed forever. If, however, you look at what is possible, not what is not possible. What is possible? If you have good relationship, if you have good moisturizing, you've got preparation with your medication and your pain is not as awful as it was during the day and you're relaxed. Sometimes people like having sex in the morning better than at night for that reason. But here are other things you can do. There is not only masturbation, which we are also not taught to do. There's a book called Sex.10, which one of the patients told me about because she doesn't have a partner. And that's a good book to teach us about what's possible between us and our own bodies. So you can use lubricating jelly, and you should use whatever else you've got. Long handle vibrators, handheld showers, they're nice too. You can do mutual masturbation, comfortable positions for both of you. I mean, your partner might also have low back pain or whatever, and he or she might need to prepare just like you do. Use jelly and communicate the best places to touch and how hard or soft. And there could be orgasms anyway. So make sure you bring your towels with you to bed. And then there's oral sex. Using pillows is pretty important for that. And hopefully your bed doesn't have 2 or 3 mattresses, because it's much easier if you're doing oral sex down and your hips are down by the end of the bed and you can comfortably raise your legs. That makes it much easier for your partner to get to the parts that you're going to tell him or her are good for you. Using your tongue, or vice versa. He can lie or she can lie on the bed and you can pleasure that area for them. We're not taught this stuff. Next. All right. Next. These are the resources that I came up with, not to overwhelm you. I didn't want to give you 5 different pages of resources, but I've given you the resources that are legit. They don't have anything to sell. They have information for you. For example, SIECUS, SIECUS.org has been around a really long time, and it is, I forget what it stands for, but either the first S or the last S is sex. So they've been around a long time and they've educated a lot of people. So they're still going strong. And we have the Arthritis Foundation has resources. There is, the first one is called mypleasure.com. And so you have education for disabled people and people with reduced mobility. You've got rheumatology.org, which is the American College of Rheumatology website, which I hope you already know, because they have fact sheets and information for the public. I think they're not huge on sexuality, but they do have a section on pregnancy. And then there's Sex for One and pamphlets. And if you're going to come down to LA to go to the people there call it Boys Town, go to West Hollywood to go to some of those sex shops, give me a call. I'll go with you. But you guys might have some, I didn't look up Vancouver sex shops, I'll tell you, but maybe you guys will. I was a little concerned that I would get bombarded by Google, but at the time that I did it, they didn't. So I was also looking over my shoulder and watching my mail for a long time because I figured somebody would come up with something that they had to sell me about this subject. Happy to report, no, that didn't happen. Okay, next slide. This is something, if you don't want to talk at the screen, you can write it to me. Or you can just think about it yourself and write it down. I hope that you did find it useful and that you go to, that you can use the things that we talked about, that I talked about. And on the next slide, these are private questions. I did this once at the national conference, and there were a whole bunch of young couples in there. And I finished, and people talked to me and whatnot, and we were on the same elevator to go up to our rooms, and we were very quiet. And I asked one of the guys if he had his piece of paper. And the entire elevator went and laughed at him, and he turned so red, so cute. This is something that the reason it's private is because I don't have to know it, but you need to know it so that you can share it with whoever you got to share it with. And a lot of times we never do that. We just don't know how to talk about it. So I'm thinking that you could write the answers to the private questions and share them with your partner. Next slide. And now go play. Because it should be fun. Do you guys have any questions? Either I've answered all your questions or people are so shy that they don't want to ask, which I can understand. That goes back to slide number 1 when we're not raised to be talking freely about that stuff. Anybody? You write me a note? Yes, ma'am. Teresa.
There we go. I'm unmuted now.
Yeah.
I'd just like to thank you so much because those were a couple of my questions were menopause and Sjogren's and dryness. Like I can't believe because I thought, how can you tell the difference? And you really can't when we're going through this.
Yeah.
And
I know.
And the lubes. That was another question. So thank you so much. Because I've tried some and not the thing. And it was recommended from my doctor. And yeah. So thank you.
Great. Well, you can tell them about YES also.
I will.
Yeah, educate them. Well, the good ones always are in the middle of being educated anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And they're the ones that say my patients have taught me so much.
Mm-hmm.
When they retire.
No, thank you. I will definitely be talking with my husband after this. So thank you.
Rock.
Okay.
Great. You're welcome.
Take care.
Thank you. Anybody else? I can only see 4 of you. But